Hey guys, welcome back to the Don't Settle Squad podcast, episode 68. You didn't make me, so you can't break me. If you have a fragile identity and self-esteem, you can be broken easily. But if you have a solid foundation of self-awareness and self-respect, nobody can break you. So to get us started here, I suppose apologies. I have a bit of a cold coming off the end of that, so hopefully everyone's alright there and I won't start kind of coughing. Bit self-imposed. So it was St. Patrick's Day recently for the people in Ireland, and if you're outside of Ireland, you probably heard of it. So I was coming towards the end of a flu, probably caught in Jiu-Jitsu, and then I went out for Paddy's Day, and my plan backfired. I was like, I'll go out at 4 p.m. and I'll be home at 10 p.m. and got lost in the pints and the crack and looked at my watch. I think it was around 11:30, and I laughed to myself and then went to the bar. So yeah, got home 2:30 or whatever with the lads and was dying the next day. So put myself back there a few days with the sickness, but sure, look, go crack all the same. But yeah, it's funny, some of my other friends who would drink more than me were well able for that. I am not able for that anymore. It's a more rare occasion for me. So the 3 points for today, we're going to go fragile identity and self-esteem. Point 2, strong identity and self-esteem. And then point 3, men can be broken but not defeated. Okay, and you'll see then, like I said in the intro, it comes down to this, like when men feel defeated, it's usually due to fragile identity and self-esteem. But as I'm saying, if you build a self-awareness, build a self-respect, that's when nobody can break you. So for the fragile identity and self-esteem, this is when people are placing their worth in others' opinions. And if that's the case, other people are making you, so other people can break you. You're having a great day if someone says or admired something that you did or whatever, and then a different day if someone's slagging you or taking the piss out of you, that can be a terrible day. So that's the kind of opposite of the title, where people make you. You're only feeling good if people say that you're good and etc. So people are making you, which means people can also break you. And this can happen a lot when you don't know who you are, which is normal when you're younger and you're coming up and you're trying to find yourself. And I love the quote of, if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you. And that's how it is. If you don't do the self-awareness work, and building your own identity, finding out who you are and becoming that person, the world is going to tell you, or someone else is going to tell you. And you're going to believe them because you don't know yourself. You're so lost yourself that you don't know, and you're just basing your self-worth off the opinions of others. And even more on the self-awareness point there, you'll only get triggered if part of you believes it's true as well. So I dove into that. You'll find triggers are your best teachers was a podcast episode I did. You can search that on YouTube or Spotify. So that's part of it too. If you don't know yourself, if you haven't accepted all parts of yourself, when people mock you, if you get triggered, part of you believes it's true. And the simple example there, if someone was mocking you, or let's say me, oh Mark, your hair is so blue, it looks ridiculous. That wouldn't trigger me. Why? Because my hair isn't blue, and I know that's a fact. But if someone said, oh, maybe Mark, you're arrogant, or Mark, you're cocky, or whatever, and part of me is triggered, that's because part of me believes that it's true. Or it could be the opposite. You know, you're so shy, humble, no one's ever going to listen to you, etc. Could be a bit triggered by that, like you can't speak, etc. Part of me believes that's true as well. Okay, so that's just a good starting point for the self-awareness. The things that people say that trigger you, that's because part of you believes it's true. And then once you know yourself and you've fully accepted the good and bad parts of yourself, you know who you are, and you're working towards becoming the better version of yourself, these things will stop triggering you. Because part 1, most of the things people will say, you've already realised and accepted in yourself. And then as well, if someone says something that you completely don't agree with, that won't bother you either. Like if someone wrote and commented on this saying, Mark is trying to make the world a terrible place with his content, that wouldn't bother me at all, because I know who I am, I know my vision, what I'm trying to do, and that's not what I'm trying to do, and I know that as a fact. So there you go. And yeah, I've pretty much said the last 2 points on that too. Stop getting caught in like letting the world tell you who you are and letting others' opinions massively impact your self-esteem and your identity. Is you need to find out your own identity. You need to find out who you are. So the starting points of self-development, which I make it easy for people, find out your values, which is who you are, and then find out your vision, which is who you want to be. Or you could say like who you are and what you want to do. And again, they're not going to be perfect by any means, but you need to start with something and move forward from there. Okay? Very simply, what do you value? Look at someone you admire. You value one of the traits that they have. Okay? Maybe if it's me, people usually say authenticity or integrity. if you like my content, that's one of your values more than likely. So you have one value now, which might be authenticity, and then your vision. You can keep it very basic and say, I want to start saying what I think. And then them two will align. And let's say as the weeks go on, you will start becoming a more authentic person. Okay, that's a very, very basic example of that. So move on to point 2 then, with the strong identity and the strong self-esteem. So this is the opposite. So like I just said, fragile identity, fragile self-esteem is when you place worth in others' opinions, which means they can break you at any moment. So for the strong identity and the strong self-esteem, it's when you place the worth in your own values and your own actions. So now the words of other people don't matter. Okay? So to say those lines together, place your worth in others' opinions, they can break you at any moment, which is a fragile identity and fragile self-esteem. Place your worth in your own values and your own actions, nobody can break you. That's empowering, secure, strong identity, and then your self-esteem will grow from there. Like what was actually so helpful for this stuff, Google the definitions of these words. Like when I Google the definition of self-esteem, it says a few things, but then it also says self-respect. Google self-respect. Then Google the word respect even. Respect is deep admiration for someone. So like when you trace it all back, basically your self-esteem is going to be on a foundation of, do you like yourself or not? Do you admire the person that you are? And then again, what does that lead into? All the stuff that I'm saying a lot of the time about becoming a capable person, becoming your own hero to the younger self. Because that's someone that you'll admire. And then when you start to admire yourself, what's going to happen? Your self-esteem will start to go up. Because your self-esteem is essentially self-respect. And that's why I say, chase your own self-respect instead of external validation. Okay, so you'll see how all this stuff is linked. And when you even just Google the definitions, it'll start to become a lot clearer. Because I remember like self-esteem, self-respect, like all these words. I'm like, what do they really mean? And it can get a bit confusing. So all of this stuff, again, comes back to what I said about the values and the vision, about who you are, what you want to do, and starting there. So that's how we get up towards a strong identity, self-esteem. I'll say it one more time. It's when you place your worth in your own values and actions. And why is that empowering? It's because that's in your control. Think of the first point. Someone else's opinion. Is that in my control? No. Someone could say, oh, Mark, you're amazing one day, and then they could say, Mark, I hate you the next day. Like, none of that's in my control. So that's not empowering. It's disempowering. But my own values, my own actions, that's always in my control. Always. And that's the very empowering part of it. So, think of it like this. If I act, well, first of all, I need to be aware of my values. So if I become aware of my values, then I consistently act in line with my values. I will be at peace and happy with myself regardless of what happens in the external world. Regardless of what happens in the external world, anything could happen, but if I follow that, I'll be at peace and I'll be proud of myself. Okay? And like, it kind of links back to Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, if you've read that before, where I loved his quote, my favourite quote of all time. Hopefully rack it off now, like I usually can. So he said, there's only one thing that cannot be taken from man, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And he wrote that during the Holocaust. Okay, so I remember like listening to that book on my walks. Even as I say it, I get kind of shivers there. Like, to me, that's just the essence of the human spirit. You could be in some of the worst situations imaginable, some of the worst situations humans have ever been in. And he's in there, people perishing all around him. And he's just saying, look, you can take my wife and kids, they were killed, you can take everything from me, but the one thing that you can't take is my attitude. That's mine forever. I can choose that, and anyone can. Okay? That's the most empowering thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And it's probably the foundation of the guy who didn't settle, the don't settle attitude. It's essentially the same thing. I just have my own line of, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you settle for, which is a similar kind of angle. So from that quote, it's leading to the stuff I'm saying here. If you know your values, you know who you are, and you have your own attitude, I just call it like the don't settle attitude, nobody or nothing can take that away from you. And this is when you have the strong identity and the strong self-esteem. And like I've gone through all these things. I've had the fragile identity, fragile self-esteem, come up to the strong identity, strong self-esteem. And you just have to live it to see how true all this stuff is. Like, as I started sharing my content 5 years ago, I've been called many, many things under the sun. You know, it used to really affect me back then, and I'm starting to see how all this makes sense, and now it doesn't matter. Not to say that you won't get annoyed or triggered a little bit if someone says something, but it doesn't matter. When I remind myself of all this, and I know who I am, and I'm being that man, it doesn't matter. and that's hence the title. Like this person commented on YouTube, or this person commenting on my Instagram. They didn't make me, so they can't break me. I made myself, so I'm the only one that can actually break myself. And that's an important point to say as well, that it will come from within. And I think that's going to lead us into the last point. Yeah, it actually will perfectly lead us into the last point, which I said was, men can be broken but not defeated. Okay, took that line from somewhere, but that's something that I believe in too. Just phrased more eloquently there. So men can be broken but not defeated. And my own line that I added in after to make more sense of it for myself was, well, actually, I'll get it right. So what did I write down, bro? Yeah. So I said broken is an incident, defeated is an attitude. Okay, so broken is an incident, defeated is an attitude. And like we've said with Viktor Frankl, my attitude is mine no matter what happens. That's on me. I'm not going to blame anyone for that, blame the world for that. That is on me, just like it's on you. But incidents can happen. I can't control all the incidents that are going to happen in my life. And I can be broken for a short period of time, like in my body with all the injuries. Could be something in your relationships, could be something in any part of life. It's not to say I'm never going to be broken or things are never going to go wrong. Like, that's just delusion. So that is going to happen. And I can be broken. I've been broken many times, but I can't be defeated. And I believe that that's all humans as well. All humans have that capacity to get there. Just like Viktor Frankl said, when you go through the worst of circumstances and you're able to still have hope and still keep the don't settle attitude to keep moving forward, just like all our ancestors have done. So like, I don't ever accept when someone says to me, oh, you're different than me, or I can't do that. We all have the same DNA. We're all coming from the same line of savages who didn't make excuses for anything. So again, the whole victim mentality thing, that is an attitude. You adopted that attitude somewhere. You weren't born with that attitude. Or even, the classic cases of twins, and the dad's an alcoholic. One goes on to become an alcoholic and says, oh, my dad's an alcoholic. The other one goes on to become successful and never drank. And they're like, oh, it's because my dad was an alcoholic. It's attitudes can be adopted and can be changed. And you've adopted one subconsciously, you can change it. Okay, so that's the line that I keep for myself. Like, so men can be broken but not defeated. And then I added on, broken is an incident, defeated is an attitude. And again, linking into the Viktor Frankl quote. And another quote there that I loved was from Jocko, where he said, any defeat other than death is psychological. So again, that's coming at the same angle there. So I'll finish up with another line I took from my doc. I have like a quotes/wisdom doc. I think it's up on 329 pages or something now. I'll have to make that into some sort of book or something. Like, it's just so much knowledge and wisdom in there from all these people, past, present, that have really helped my life. But one comment in there that comes in here is, the deepest manifestation of the crisis of masculinity is despair. So we'll say that again. So the deepest manifestation of the crisis of masculinity is despair. Okay? So that's the lowest form of it, and we can all be there. That's like when we're broken. And few harsh truths. This guy was given very harsh truths now, and I wasn't sure about it, and then I kind of took time one day to think about it, and I was like, no, I actually agree with that. He was given the example of people saying, like, oh, I can't bring kids into this world. And he was saying it's actually black-pilled cowardice. Like black-pill, like despair. It's basically them despairing and them being a coward, which I actually would agree with when you think about it. Because no matter what's happening in this modern world, it's not easy, but we're still living in the most opportunistic time in the history of the world. Just think about that. Did our ancestors think life is tough? I'm not going to bring kids into this because it's going to be too tough for them and for me. Obviously they didn't, or me and you wouldn't be here. So all the way through history, through the toughest times that humans have been through, everyone took ownership. They worked on their attitude. They had the don't settle attitude. They worked to keep it, and they kept progressing the human race all the way up to me and you. And it's only in these days now where we can hit despair. It links into loads of things I talk about because we're isolated. Isolation kills your mission, which I talked about, was probably one of my most popular YouTube videos. So that's part of it too. Once the isolation happens, the despair can happen, and then we can lose the attitude. And like we're saying, that's the deepest manifestation of the crisis of masculinity is despair, and it's going to happen when you're isolated like that. So that's it. That's what I believe, is that I'm going to keep the don't settle attitude going like my ancestors have done, and it's in my control just like it's in your control. And if you're feeling isolated, I'm trying to help spread the word with this message and give you a bit of affinity through YouTube at least. But you need to be building your own tribe and getting into the right circles too. We did it. Jesus, there's a few times there. I need to cough so badly or stop talking, but I wanted to keep it rolling. So to finish up then, we've the Mobility for Jiu-Jitsu class every Saturday. So if you're in Dublin, Ireland, Brazier Jiu-Jitsu in Inchicore, 11:30 to 12:30 is the mobility class. So yeah, if I started, it's going to keep going. So 11:30 to 12:30 on Saturday is the mobility class. And then 12:45 to 2 p.m. apologies, is the sparring class. So Jiu-Jitsu is afterwards. So if you're around Dublin, want to get your mobility journey started or your Jiu-Jitsu journey started, DM me on Instagram, Guy Didn't Settle, or email me at guydidn'tsettle@gmail.com and we'll get you started. And then with the Physical Freedom Program there as well, you see the membership option, which is the cheaper one, which is more self-guided with the group call, and then you've one-to-one access as well if you want to go for that coaching. Obviously more expensive, but that's where you get the best progress. So that's it. So yeah, follow, rate the podcast. If you listen on Spotify, it takes 2 clicks. Appreciate that. I think there's 10 reviews there now. Appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, then subscribing is probably the best thing you can do there. Yeah, got like 25 subscribers there last few weeks, which is cool. So let's keep it going if you're getting value from the videos. Okay, so that's it. So don't settle. Live true to yourself, and we'll talk to you next week.